If you're looking to get lean, even if you have 30% body fat or more, I'm going to share with you 7 underrated tips that'll accelerate fat loss. Most people miss these tips and it prevents them from getting the results they desire. I'm going to lay it all out for you, and the great part about these tips, they're easy to follow and you'll get fast results. You'll notice a difference within days. The first underrated tip is to get your steps each day. Oh yeah, Ben, I already heard that. Yeah, walking is good for you. Yes, and let me explain why, what it does for fat loss, and the target you want to hit in terms of steps each day. And I'm going to share some variations to get even better results with walking and the right time and proper way to do the walking for fat loss. Walking impacts your metabolism and your overall health in several ways. It's not just about fat loss, although it'll help with fat loss. Physical activity also helps with your cardiovascular system, your lymphatic system, and it helps to prevent disease. There was a really fascinating study, a meta-analysis done by the European Society of Cardiology, along with the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And this study highlights the significant health benefits of walking for just 5,000 to 7,000 steps per day. That's not even a lot of steps, but most people, the average person gets about 2,000 to 3,000 steps per day. That's pretty sedentary. And you've heard the term, sitting is the new smoking. That is spot on. This study, which analyzed data from 15 studies involving nearly 50,000 participants, found that walking at least 7,000 steps daily can reduce risk of all-cause mortality by 50 to 70% compared to those who walked fewer steps. Another recent study highlighted the fact that if you don't get enough physical activity and steps, it's going to be really hard to burn fat. The Journal of Physiology published this study titled "Physical Inactivity Causes Exercise Resistance of Fat Metabolism." Here's what the study showed. Physical inactivity is the 4th leading cause of death in the world. It is associated with a myriad of diseases and premature death. 2 contributing factors are postprandial lipidemia, which accelerates the buildup of plaque in your arteries called atherosclerosis, and impaired whole body fat oxidation, which contributes to obesity. That means when you don't get enough activity, your body is not in fat burning mode, it's in fat storage mode. At the bottom here of the study, it said, recommendations regarding the amount of moderate to vigorous exercises needed for health should factor in the amount of background activity, but they suggest at least 8,000 steps is necessary to avoid this exercise resistance. And you could see the illustration of this graphic here on inactivity and what that does to impair fat metabolism after exercise. It's a vicious loop. So the goal here is for you to hit 8,000 steps every single day. That is the first underrated tip to do it. But there's some cool ways to even get more results with your steps. I'll share with you not just the goal of hitting 8,000 steps, I'm going to also share with you right now 3 ways to use walking to accelerate fat loss and get lean. The first one is to walk at the right time. You want to make sure you time your walks with your meals. This will give you the biggest fat loss benefits. Now, if this is unrealistic to walk after every meal, choose the biggest meal of the day and go for about a 15 to 20 minute walk after that meal. Here's why. The goal is to optimize postprandial glucose levels, meaning your blood sugar levels after you eat a meal. The higher your blood sugar levels after eating, the faster you store fat. This is because more insulin is pumped out by your pancreas to shuttle that glucose out of the bloodstream into your cells. The longer insulin is around and the more insulin is produced, the more fat you store. Postprandial glucose is the measurement of this process. The higher your blood sugars after eating, the more fat you're storing. With walking right after a meal, your metabolism is able to clear this glucose faster and less insulin is also produced as well, getting you back into a fat burning state much faster than if you did not go for that walk. Now the goal is to go for a 15-minute walk. If you can get it up to 30 minutes, you'll get even more results. I want you to check out this study on what is happening here. It's activating the GLUT4 transporters, which takes sugar out of the bloodstream and puts it into your glycogen stores, your liver and your muscle cells. This study showed the effects of postprandial walking on glucose response after meals with different characteristics. Here's what it showed. Postprandial brisk walking substantially reduced the glucose peak in both studies with no significant differences across conditions. When evaluating the glycemic response throughout the 2 hours post-meal, postprandial walking was more effective after consuming a lower carbohydrate meal, and even similarly, even effective after a higher carbohydrate meal or a mixed meal. Although higher glucose values were observed with the higher glucose meal, which was a carbohydrate drink, our findings show that a 30-minute postprandial brisk walking session improves the glycemic response after meals with different carbohydrate content and macronutrient composition, with implications for postprandial exercise prescription in daily life scenarios. The second way to get more from your steps is to create walking adaptations. Walking adaptations forces your body to adapt to different changes and patterns. This confuses your body and your muscles, which accelerates fat burning. Every great fitness coach, every great personal trainer understands this principle. It's the reason why that workout video, home workout video, P90X, was so successful. It creates metabolic adaptation, muscle confusion. It all relates to a principle called hormesis. What the heck is hormesis? When you learn this principle, it will change everything you think about when it comes to health and fat loss. Now, hormesis is defined as a phenomenon in which a harmful substance, think of that as a stressor, gives stimulating and beneficial effects to living organisms, humans, when the quantity of the harmful substance is small. All right, what exactly does that mean? Now, I know some of you are listening on the podcast, so I'll explain the graphic I'm going to show here, but check out this graphic. You can see exactly how hormesis works as it relates to exercise. Remember, exercise is a stress. Doesn't mean it's bad for you unless you do too much. So check out the graphic here. When you find the right balance of stress from your exercise, you are in what's called the hormetic zone. That is that green graph going up there. It's the hormetic zone. That's where we want to be. That's where we see reactive oxygen species, ROS, decrease. We see antioxidants increase. We also see activity of antioxidant enzymes increase, oxidative damage increase, and resistance to oxidative stress increase. Now, if you do too little exercise or too standard of a walk or too much, you fall out of that hormetic zone. So you can see too little is on the orange side of the graph, too much is on the right side. So if you do too much walking, too much exercise, you can see ROS goes up, antioxidants go down. So it's pretty much the opposite effect. You are inflamed instead of de-inflamed. So we want to stay in this hormetic zone. We can apply this principle of stress to your steps. So how do we achieve these walking adaptations and stay in that zone of hormesis? Here's how you're going to do it. First way is walking on an incline treadmill or up and down hills. That's a wonderful way to create adaptation. There are under the desk treadmills that you can buy that you can step on and walk on an incline or a decline. Another way is walking backward or sideways. It's a great way to strengthen your knees as well. And you might be walking in your neighborhood backwards and your neighbor might be saying, what are you doing? And you could explain the principle of hormesis and adaptation, but that's another way to do it. Walking outside in the elements is a great way to create adaptation as well. Bonus points when you do this during sunrise and during sunset because it optimizes your circadian rhythm. You could also choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator. I lived in an apartment building for many years on the 4th floor and on the 3rd floor different times, and I took the stairs pretty much 95% of the time. You could also, instead of driving all around the parking lot to find the closest parking spot, park farther and walk your butt to the store and walk your butt back to the car. It all adds up, my friend. The third step, which kind of picks up on the second way to increase the results of walking, is to increase the intensity of your walks. Most people, when they walk at a slow, casual pace that doesn't really elevate the metabolism to burn enough calories. When you increase your speed, you create an energy demand on the body which forces your body to increase its metabolic rate. A good walking pace to achieve this is to try the talking and walking test. If your intensity is at an optimal level for fat loss, you should be somewhat out of breath as you talk. Not completely, but you should have some difficulty walking and talking. By adding a dumbbell in each hand, you could also create a higher demand and intensity for more fat burning. So walk around the neighborhood with the dumbbell, with your baby, with your dog, whatever you can do to add weights to your walk. The extra load of weight forces your body to adapt, which as we established is very important for getting fat loss results. So that's the first underrated tip. Get at least 8,000 steps a day, add those variations to your steps, and you're gonna be on the right track. You could use different trackers to count your steps. You could simply download an app on your phone, have it on you, it'll count your steps. You can use an Apple Watch, a Fitbit. I use this ring called the Oura ring. There's also Whoop bands and other trackers, but make sure you track it. Don't guess, test. The second underrated tip for getting lean is to make sure you get your required protein intake. Protein is arguably the most important macronutrient as it relates to longevity and fat loss. Approximately 40% of Americans don't get enough protein. This has been hypothesized to have led to the obesity crisis. It's called the protein leverage hypothesis, and it states that humans will eat as many calories, even from junk food, to get enough protein for their day. Now, ideally, we want to get enough protein not from junk food, but from quality sources, and I'll share the best way, how much to get, and all that. But first, let me explain how this relates to fat loss. Lack of protein in the diet can lead to both weight gain and weight loss resistance through the following key mechanisms. The first one is reduced satiety and increased caloric intake. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient, meaning it helps you feel full and satisfied after eating. When a diet is low in protein, you are likely to feel hungrier and may overeat. In particular, you're going to eat high-calorie, low-nutrient foods, leading to weight gain. This increased appetite is often due to the lack of sufficient signals to the brain that tell you you're full. So when you eat enough protein, it activates hormones like cholecystokinin, leptin, peptide YY, which tell your brain and your stomach you're full. No need to go to the pantry and eat the Oreos or eat the ice cream. Second way protein helps, or I should say a deficiency in protein leads to weight gain, is muscle loss and metabolic rate decline. Protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass. When you don't consume enough protein, your body may break down muscle tissue for energy, especially during caloric restriction or fasting. Muscle mass is a key determinant for your basal metabolic rate, your BMR, which is the number of calories your body burns at rest, sitting on the couch, watching TV. As muscle mass decreases, your BMR decreases, making it easier to gain weight and harder to lose it, contributing to weight loss resistance. Then we see blood sugar fluctuations with not enough protein. Protein helps regulate blood sugar levels by slowing down the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates. A lack of protein can lead to more significant fluctuations in blood sugar, causing spikes and crashes. These fluctuations can lead to increased cravings for sugary and high carbohydrate foods, leading to overeating and weight gain. Next, we see increased fat storage when you don't hit your protein target. When protein intake is low, the body may prioritize fat storing versus fat burning. Protein has a higher thermic effect of food than carbohydrates and fat, meaning it requires more energy to digest and metabolize. With less protein, your body may burn fewer calories during digestion, leading to increased fat storage and reduced fat loss. This could also lead to impaired hormonal function. Protein is critical for the production and regulation of hormones that control hunger, metabolism, and fat storage, such as insulin, ghrelin, and leptin. Inadequate protein intake can disrupt the balance of these hormones, leading to increased hunger, decreased satiety, and the tendency to store more fat. Then this leads to leptin resistance. Leptin is a hormone produced by fat cells that signals to the brain you are full when you have enough energy stored. Protein plays a role in maintaining leptin sensitivity. When protein intake is low, you may develop leptin resistance, where the brain does not receive or respond to the leptin signals properly. This can result in constant feelings of hunger and difficulty losing weight, even when calorie intake is controlled. This then triggers altered fat and carbohydrate metabolism. Protein helps the body efficiently metabolize fats and carbohydrates. Without enough protein, the body's ability to process these macronutrients is impaired, potentially leading to increased fat storage and difficulty burning fat for energy. Now that you understand protein is critical for fat loss, let's discuss how to get that protein. How much protein should you consume each day? What's your target? I'm gonna give you 2 rules to follow here. First rule, this is the easy way, get at least 40 grams of protein from each of your meals. If you have 3 meals per day, then that'll be 120 grams of protein, 40 grams at each meal. If you have 2 meals a day, that'll mean 80 grams of protein, but at least 40 grams. That'll create muscle protein synthesis. Ideally, you wanna get 1 gram of protein for each pound of your ideal body weight. This is a little bit more difficult to achieve, but this would be the optimal way to get your protein. So what exactly does that mean? That means if you're watching this and you weigh 210 pounds, but you have extra weight, your goal weight that you wanna hit, that target body weight, let's say in this example, is 170 but you weigh 210, so you have 40 pounds you want to lose. But you know your goal weight is 170, that means you want to aim to get 170 grams of protein every single day. You could use free apps to track your protein to make sure you're hitting the target. I like Chronometer. You can get it for free over at chronometer.com/KetoCamp. There is a difference though between animal-based protein and plant-based protein. Animal-based protein is far superior. It's bioavailable, complete protein with all the essential amino acids you want. Plant protein is not. So ideally you want to go with animal protein, but if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you could still get results with plant-based protein. It just might take you some more time. Can you use a protein shake to hit your target? The answer is yes. Just make sure it's a high quality protein shake. I'm personally not a fan of plant-based proteins, and I'm not a fan of most whey proteins. It's very insulinogenic, but I love beef protein isolate. And I use a company called �゛ Foods, and they have a 100% grass-fed, grass-finished protein powder from beef isolate, and they have different flavors. It tastes great, and you can check them out over at �゛foods.com/benazadi. When you go to that link, or click the link in the notes below, you get 20% off your �゛ Prime Protein. Let's move on to the third underrated tip for fat loss. That's going to be getting 90 minutes of delta deep sleep every night. What does that mean? When you're asleep at night, you go through three main stages of sleep. You have light sleep, you have REM sleep, and you have delta deep sleep. Light sleep has some benefits. You're in a relaxed state. REM sleep has benefits. It's called rapid eye movement sleep because it helps with short-term memory to process that for long-term memory, so it helps with memory and function. Deep sleep is where most of your fat-burning hormones are turned on and activated. You burn more fat during deep sleep than at the gym. And you want to get at least 90 minutes of deep sleep every single night. How do you do that? I'm going to share my favorite sleep tips for you that'll get you more deep sleep. The first tip is to drink banana tea before bed. Banana tea is nature's NyQuil. It helps you feel relaxed. If you have a racing mind at night, it'll help calm the mind and calm the brain, help you get ready for bed. Here's how you make banana tea. You grab an organic banana, leave the peel on, cut the ends of the banana, then cut the banana in half, the peel still on, put both halves into a pot of water, 2 cups of water, and boil that water until the peel of the banana starts to turn brown. What's gonna happen is the peel of the banana has more of these incredible micronutrients like potassium and magnesium, more than the actual banana itself, which will seep into the water. Then you just drink that banana tea and it'll help calm you down. You could just put the actual banana in the freezer or the fridge and not eating it, you're just drinking the banana tea. That's banana tea. I call it nature's NyQuil. I got it from Dr. Michael Bruce, a friend of mine. The second way to increase your deep sleep is to limit, or I should say avoid, food at least 3 hours before bed. The closer you eat to bed, the less deep sleep and less fat burning you're going to get. It's one of the biggest fat loss mistakes people make. Not to mention, it's a fast way to raise inflammation and age you faster when you eat right before bed. When you give your body energy by eating food and then go to bed, there's no activity or energy expenditure on the food you just consumed. So your metabolism stores all of it as fat. It also raises your body temperature. And if you want to get deep sleep, your body temperature needs to drop 1 degree Fahrenheit. This will prevent that from happening, so you'll get minimal deep sleep, wake up feeling hungry and groggy, just not a good idea. So make sure you're not eating anything at least 3 hours before bed. If you go to bed at 11 p.m., kitchen's to be closed by 8 p.m. The third way to get more deep sleep is to take a very important nutrient that achieves more deep sleep. This is a one-of-a-kind product, and this nutrient is called magnesium, responsible for over 600 enzymatic properties in your body. Healthy levels of magnesium help to buffer cortisol, help a healthy production of GABA, which is a relaxing neurotransmitter, and helps you get deep sleep. It puts the brakes on your body's nervous system, helping you calm down and soothe, promoting a better quality of life. But you have to get the right kind of magnesium. The truth is, most magnesium supplements you'll find in health stores uses cheap synthetic forms. And since they are not full spectrum, they won't help your magnesium deficiency or do much to help with deep sleep. My favorite is from Magnesium Breakthrough, and it's a company called Bioptimizers that make it. They use 7 unique forms of magnesium that really help bump up your deep sleep. Simply take 2 capsules before bed. If you weigh over 200 pounds, you could take 3 capsules before bed. I personally take 2. I weigh 170 pounds. Go to bioptimizers.com/KetoCamp. Use the coupon code KetoCamp10. You'll get 10% off your bottle. Next, you also want to make your bedroom cold and dark. In order to get into a deep delta sleep of fat burning, that bedroom needs to be around 65 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. I know that's cold, but that's what the studies suggest. And you want to make sure it's as dark as possible. Turn off the alarm clock or the TV or anything that's stimulating your body by raising cortisol. That's going to be artificial light. Put on blackout curtains or even wear a sleep mask, dark as possible, and really cold bedroom. It's going to bump up your deep sleep. And the final way here to get more deep sleep is to mouth tape. Now, this may sound crazy, but I do this every single night. When you breathe through your mouth at night, it lowers nitric oxide and it doesn't allow you to get into a parasympathetic, deep delta fat burning sleep state. You want to breathe through your nostrils. Most people will breathe through their mouth. How do you know you're a mouth breather? You wake up in the morning and your mouth is dry. That's a sign right there. If you snore, that's a sign right there as well. So with a nice mouth tape, what happens is it forces you to breathe through your nostrils. It activates the parasympathetic tone, raises nitric oxide, helps you get more deep sleep. I use a company called Somnifix and their mouth tape, and I'll drop a link for them down below. How do you know how much deep sleep you're getting? This goes back to the tip on the steps. Don't guess, test. Oura Ring tracks it, Apple Watch, Fitbit, Whoop bands. Don't guess, test. Let's see how much deep sleep you're getting. The goal is to get 90 minutes each night for fat burning. Okay, let's move on to the next underrated method. It's the fourth method here, and that's going to be strength training. We already established the importance of protein. Protein is going to help with this tip because it's going to help you build lean muscle mass. I'm not saying you should become a bodybuilder or a CrossFitter. I'm saying you should have healthy amounts of lean muscle. Lean muscle is your body's longevity organ. When you have enough lean muscle, a lot of cool things happen. Number one, it raises your basal metabolic rate, so you naturally burn more calories. Number two, that muscle mass acts like a sponge to absorb glucose after you eat a meal. And it really helps with that postprandial glucose response that we spoke about, helping you get into a fat burning state much faster after eating a meal. Now, compound movements are king. Compound movements are strength training movements that recruit multiple joints at the same time. For example, this is going to be push-ups or bench press. You're activating your biceps, triceps, your chest, your back, all at the same time. Another example of this is the shoulder press. Another example are squats, lunges. We want these compound movements versus isolated movements. Isolated movements are fine for vanity's sake, but it's not going to get you the biggest bang for your buck for muscle mass. Isolated movements include dumbbell curls, leg extensions. These are just isolating certain muscle groups. So go with the king of movements, and that's going to be compound movements. They're also called primal movements. You want to aim to do 3 to 4 strength training workouts each week with about 30 to 45 minutes at each workout. Look, too much is not a good thing. We talked about hormesis. You don't want to do 6 workouts a week or 7 workouts a week. The sweet spot for most people is 3 to 4. And I want to respect those who are watching or listening to this that have different activity levels. Start with where you're at, but the goal is to get strength training on a weekly basis. You could even start with using your body weight. Okay, the fifth underrated method for fat loss is my favorite supplement in the world called vitamin G. This study on vitamin G took 120 people and measured their cortisol levels, their stress hormone, and measured their IgA levels, their immune system, at the start and conclusion of this vitamin G workshop. So as cortisol goes up, a chemical called IgA, which protects your immune system, goes down. Cortisol also increases fat storage. It's called the cortisol belly. So vitamin G has been shown to buffer cortisol. The study showed after taking 120 people, they measured their cortisol and IgA levels at the start and conclusion of the vitamin G workshop. And here's what the study showed. We discovered at the conclusion of the event that cortisol levels of our participants dropped by 3 standard deviations, and their IgA levels shot up on average from 52.5 to 86. They noted that these are significant, measurable changes. Vitamin G also activates your parasympathetic nervous system, important for fat loss. It has been shown to increase 1,200 chemical reactions in the body and the brain when you take it instantaneously. This study from UC Davis showed that people who take vitamin G have 16% lower diastolic blood pressure and 10% lower systolic blood pressure compared to those who don't take vitamin G. The same study showed that people who take vitamin G have between 9 to 13% lower levels of blood sugar, A1C, the hemoglobin A1C, versus those who didn't take vitamin G. So where can you get vitamin G? You're probably already on Amazon looking for vitamin G supplements. Here's the thing. There's no link for vitamin G. I don't have a coupon code with vitamin G. Vitamin G is vitamin gratitude. Those are real studies on gratitude. What you appreciate appreciates. What you think about you bring about. The more you feed into the things you're grateful for, the more you're going to have things to be grateful for. All of those studies are on gratitude. Gratitude is not an intellectual exercise. Gratitude is an emotional exercise. So the underrated tip here for fat loss is to get your vitamin G in the morning when your subconscious mind is most impressionable, and get your vitamin G before bed. You simply want to choose 3 people in your life or 3 moments in your life and spend 1 minute on each in the morning, total of 3 minutes, and do the same thing at night. Now at night, I think about 3 things during the day that happened that I have vitamin G for, and I spend 1 minute on each of those 3 things. That's your vitamin G protocol. There's no upper limit. It's free. Go get it today. As a matter of fact, for those watching on YouTube but not listening on the podcast, in the comment section below, let's practice vitamin G right now. What do you have vitamin G gratitude for today? Put a comment down below. Let's move on to the 6th underrated tip for fat loss, and that's going to be having coffee and MCT oil, caprylic acid, in the morning. Coffee can be a really powerful fat burning agent if you get the right coffee, and I'll explain that in a second. Coffee's most powerful polyphenol is chlorogenic acid, called CGA. It tells your body's fat cells to burn their fatty acids for fuel. This is the same mechanism that statin drugs use to lower your cholesterol without the potential side effects. CGA cuts cravings, suppresses appetite, and activates the liver's ability to produce bile, aiding in detoxifying your cells and breaking down dietary fat. It helps the liver to process fats and glucose more efficiently by lowering triglyceride levels and stabilizing blood sugars. The effect of this blood sugar balancing act decreases your risk of metabolic syndrome and diabetes while inhibiting the growth of new fat cells. Working together with caffeine, CGA helps to reduce belly fat by increasing the number of cells that are burned for energy. It even works while you're sleeping. This Norwegian study found that women who drank high CGA coffee dropped 3 times more weight than those who consumed lower CGA brews. So here's how you buy the right coffee that's loaded with CGA. First of all, you want to make sure your coffee is organic and has been tested for contaminants like mold and pesticides. You also want to make sure it's a medium roast as opposed to a dark roast. Once the beans are roasted beyond medium, they've lost a whopping 75% of their fat burning and fat blasting polyphenols. My favorite brand of coffee that I drink all the time for many years is Purity Coffee. They're organic. It's tested for pesticides and it's free of any of those contaminants. They have a medium roast and it tastes delicious. If you go to ketocampcoffee.com and use the coupon code KETOCAMP, you'll get 15% off your coffee beans from Purity. I'll drop that link down below. One more tip here on coffee for you coffee drinkers out there. You want to make sure you have your coffee 90 minutes after waking up, not before. Waiting 90 minutes to have your cup of coffee has several benefits. Number one, it allows your body to naturally decrease cortisol levels, which are typically high upon waking. Consuming caffeine too early can further elevate cortisol, leading to increased stress and anxiety. Cortisol is also super powerful and more powerful than caffeine, so you're not going to really get the biggest bang for your buck from that caffeine when cortisol is already high. By delaying caffeine intake, you help to maintain a more balanced cortisol rhythm, enhancing alertness naturally. Additionally, this practice can prevent the midday energy crash often associated with early caffeine consumption, promoting sustained energy levels throughout the entire day. Now, I mentioned to add MCT oil to that cup of coffee, specifically C8 called caprylic acid. Caprylic acid offers remarkable benefits for metabolism and something called mitochondrial uncoupling. To make matters short here, when we look at the studies, and I'll put all the studies down below for you in the notes, caprylic acid allows your body to produce the most ketones. When you produce ketones, it raises your basal metabolic rate because it creates more cellular energy, and it lowers inflammation through a process called mitochondrial uncoupling. Caprylic acid, MCT oil, delivers nutrients right into your mitochondria. It's like a shuttle bus for energy. It bypasses digestion. Your liver doesn't have to produce bile to break it down. It's a source of energy right into your mitochondria, so it increases your metabolism and lowers inflammation. So add 1 tablespoon of caprylic acid, MCT oil, to that cup of coffee. Make sure you get your MCT oil from an organic source in a glass bottle. I'll drop a link for the one I recommend, along with the studies mentioning how beneficial MCT oil is for fat loss. The next underrated tip for fat loss is heat and cold therapy. Let's first discuss cold therapy. What do I mean by cold therapy? This could be a cold shower as long as it gets under 59 degrees Fahrenheit. This could mean cryotherapy, a cold plunge, or jumping into a cold body of water. The primary benefit of cold therapy as it relates to fat loss lies in its ability to stimulate brown fat oxidation. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat burns calories to generate heat, thereby increasing your metabolic rate. This process is called thermogenesis, and it can lead to improved fat loss and better weight management. This is surprising to a lot of people, but I hate to cook. It's time consuming, and when I see a recipe with a whole bunch of ingredients that take a whole bunch of time, I just tend to not do it. So I decided to put together a program for you. This is a keto recipe of the week program. I personally handpicked every recipe and I made it very easy to follow, quick to make. These are fat burning, delicious, tasty recipes that I actually make in the kitchen even though I don't enjoy cooking. Every week in this program, you'll be sent a newsletter with why I chose this recipe and how to make this recipe so you could master this keto lifestyle. This is the easiest way to adopt the keto lifestyle, and even if you're not doing keto, it's a great way to incorporate some fat-burning meals. You'll get breakfast, lunch, and dinner items, and we're throwing in hundreds of dollars in free bonuses if you join us. It's only $9.97 per month. You could cancel anytime, and you get those free bonuses. So head over to KetoCampRecipes.com to learn more about the keto recipe of the week and the free bonuses. Remember, camp is spelled with a K, and go check it out. If you're anything like me and you just want quick, easy, and fat-burning delicious recipes, this is for you. It is considered a promising agent in the fight against the obesity epidemic. One of the biggest activators of brown fat is cold exposure. One study of brown fat found that people with brown fat burned more calories. The study's author, Dr. Florian Kiefer, said, quote, "This data improves our understanding of how brown fat works in humans. We found that individuals with active brown fat burned more calories than those without." Additionally, cold exposure triggers a significant release of epinephrine, which is adrenaline, and norepinephrine, which is noradrenaline, in the brain and in the body. These neurochemicals make us feel alert and focused. Cold causes their levels to remain elevated for quite some time, and their ongoing effect after the exposure is to increase your level of energy and focus, which helps you have a more productive day. So how much cold should you get? Remember, going back to the principle of hormesis, more is not better. The study suggests if you could accumulate 11 minutes total each week of cold therapy, you'll get the benefits of the browning of fat, the fat loss, the dopamine increase, the alertness, and all the benefits we want with cold exposure. So 11 minutes means within a 7-day period. That could mean 2 minutes, and you kind of add it up until you get to 11 minutes, or you could do 4 minutes at a time. Depends on how seasoned you are at cold exposure, but overall, 11 minutes per week. If you live in a location where your pipes in your house or apartment get cold enough, you can take a cold shower. Start with warm, end with cold. Again, it needs to be 59 degrees Fahrenheit or less to get these effects. Then we have heat exposure. This could be a sauna, a hot bath, or infrared therapy. Heat therapy induces a state of hyperthermia that triggers a range of physiological responses. One of the primary benefits is the enhancement of circulation through a process called vasodilation, where your blood vessels open up, delivering oxygen and nutrients to cells and tissues. This improves overall function, and especially metabolic function. Heat therapy stimulates the release of heat shock proteins, which play a critical role in protecting cells from stress and promoting cellular repair. This process can enhance overall metabolic function and resilience. There are also detoxification benefits from heat therapy as you sweat and eliminate a lot of toxins that cause fat storage. For the best results, use the sauna in a semi-fasted state. Probably best thing to do in the morning. Ensure you're getting enough water and electrolytes. Research indicates that spending around 20 minutes per session in a sauna, totaling about 60 to 90 minutes per week, is the sweet spot to get all the benefits that we're talking about here. I personally use a Sunlighten infrared sauna. It's beautiful, it does the job. It's very comfortable to sit in. It has a TV screen. So that's one option. You could also find hotels and spas that have sauna. If you want to check out the one I have from Sunlighten, go to the link down below and use the coupon code KETOCAMP or mention Ben Azadi in KetoCamp, and you can get up to $600 off your sauna. And by the way, in terms of the plunge that we spoke about earlier, I have a plunge as well from plunge.com. We also have a coupon code, which is KetoCamp, to get a few $100s off your plunge as well. I'll drop all that in the notes down below. So there you have it. There's a hidden ingredient in a lot of healthy foods that is stopping you from burning fat, and it's not carbs and sugar, by the way. I'm gonna be sharing with you the top 10 foods out there that you might be consuming that have this hidden ingredient, and also the different names that this ingredient shows up as. This ingredient is high fructose corn syrup. And you're thinking, oh, I already know that's bad for me. Yeah, you might, but wait until I reveal the top 10 most popular products out there that are considered healthy and you might be consuming, but it's slowing down your weight loss and causing rapid inflammation and aging inside of your body. Not only will I share with you those top 10 products out there, I'm gonna give you the top 3 most popular brands in each category, and I'm going to reveal to you the healthier swaps that have cleaner ingredients, and we're also going to discuss how high fructose corn syrup has different names, and we'll identify those different names so we could swap them out and you could burn fat and feel great. Let's first begin with the top 10 most common foods out there that you're probably eating that may contain high fructose corn syrup or many of its other names. We have yogurt, granola bars, protein bars, breakfast cereals, smoothies and fruit juices, salad dressings, condiments like ketchup and barbecue sauces, whole wheat and multi-grain bread, sports drinks, and instant oatmeal. Again, a little bit later, I'm gonna go over 3 of the most common specific products in each category and then give you healthier swaps. Before I get to that, I wanna make the case on how dangerous this product is to consume and why it is slowing down your fat loss and creating inflammation. If your goal is to burn stubborn belly fat, then supporting your mitochondria is the name of the game. We've all heard of the mitochondria in your biology class. It's the powerhouse of the cell. That is true. But allow me to explain how the mitochondria help you burn stubborn fat. Every cell within your body has these organelles called the mitochondria, with the exception of red blood cells. The mitochondria produce energy called ATP. And the more energy it produces, the more it raises your basal metabolic rate, meaning your metabolism burns more calories without you having to count a calorie or exercise to burn those calories. When your mitochondria are healthy and producing a good amount of energy, you also have amazing energy levels throughout the entire day. The energy that it produces creates heat inside of your body, which raises your metabolism and helps you burn excess fat. And here's the issue with high fructose corn syrup. It is mitochondrial poison when you consume this product. High fructose corn syrup destroys your metabolism, lowers your basal metabolic rate, and puts your body into an inflamed fat storage state. High fructose corn syrup creates inflammation around the cell membranes, preventing your fat-burning hormones from getting into the cell and doing its job, which is to tell your cells to burn fat. When you consume high fructose corn syrup, it does not trigger the same hormones and chemicals as eating real food. This lack of satiety will cause you to eat more calories and feel less satiated and full when you consume it, leading to you wanting to eat more calories. It's a vicious cycle. Another issue with high fructose corn syrup is that your liver has to process it. 90% of high fructose corn syrup is processed by that soccer mom organ right here on the right side of your rib cage, the liver. Why do I call her the soccer mom? Because she does everything for the body like your soccer mom does for the family. The liver is responsible for detoxification, for fat burning, energy levels, and of course, helping you break down dietary fat and using it for energy. When you consume high fructose corn syrup, it leads to excess fat accumulation around that liver, which then leads to fatty liver disease. Then other organs inside of your body, including your pancreas, begin to get fatty, and then you develop visceral fat, which is the white fat creating pressure on your organs, leading to, of course, weight gain and a shortened lifespan. When you consume high fructose corn syrup, it disrupts 2 hormones I'm going to focus on here, a hormone called ghrelin and a hormone called leptin. Ghrelin is kind of like a gremlin. It's that hormone that makes your stomach rumble. It's that hormone that tells your body and your brain, find carbs, find food, eat something right away. So ghrelin is the gremlin. Nobody likes it for it to be around. It is annoying and it causes you to eat more food, eat more calories, especially unhealthy calories. Leptin is another hormone that acts opposite of ghrelin. Leptin tells your brain you're full, you're satiated, put down the fork, no need to go to the pantry, continue going on without having to eat something. When you consume high fructose corn syrup, it raises the hormone ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and decreases the satiety hormone leptin. It's one of the fastest ways to put on fat inside of your body. Consume high fructose corn syrup. There's a great book out there called Nature Wants Us to Be Fat, and I interviewed the gentleman who wrote the book on my Metabolic Freedom podcast. His name is Dr. Richard Johnson. And in the book, he made the case that animals in the wilderness, for bears, for example, they will consume a whole bunch of fructose, which is really concentrated in high fructose corn syrup, for the purpose of putting on as much body fat as possible before hibernation. Yeah, they are going through hibernation, but we as human beings are not. So we're just excessively stacking on body fat and putting pressure on our organs. High fructose corn syrup also disrupts your cholesterol and lipid levels, specifically lowering the protective lipoprotein called HDL, raising triglycerides in your body, which is essentially fat in your bloodstream. High fructose corn syrup raises oxidative stress in your body, again, preventing you from burning fat and producing adequate amounts of energy. And one last thing on high fructose corn syrup before I go over the specific brands and swaps. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's a world-renowned cell biologist who wrote a great book called The Biology of Belief, when I was interviewing him on my Metabolic Freedom podcast, he showed research that when you consume high fructose corn syrup, it takes blood flow away from the prefrontal cortex part of your brain. That's the part of your brain that helps you critically think, make wise decisions, and it shuttles that blood flow away from the decision-making part of your brain to the monkey brain, which is called the amygdala, which is the fearful state. This is why it feels like such a vicious cycle of eating unhealthy foods that are loaded with high fructose corn syrup. It's strategically done by these big corporations, big food, big pharma, big gov, to prevent you from critically thinking so you could overconsume and be in this vicious circle. And here's the argument I'm gonna get here. But Ben, as long as I'm on a calorie deficit, it shouldn't matter if I consume high fructose corn syrup or what the calories are. I mean, a calorie deficit is a calorie deficit. You'll lose weight. No, you will not. While calories matter, they are not important. More important than the calories you consume is the metabolic processes that happen after you consume those calories. And here are 10 other names for high fructose corn syrup that are hidden in the ingredients list. Number 1, corn syrup. Number 2, glucose fructose syrup. Number 3, isoglucose. Number 4, maize syrup. Number 5, fructose glucose syrup. Number 6, tapioca syrup. Number 7, fruit fructose. Number 8, glucose syrup. Number 9, glucose fructose syrup. And number 10, high fructose maize syrup. Now let's cover the top brands that contain high fructose corn syrup. And by the way, I'm also going to give you healthier swaps. You can find a lot of these healthier swaps I'm going to mention at Thrive Market. If you're not familiar with Thrive Market, it's a membership-based model where it's kind of like Costco meets Whole Foods, where you pay an annual fee. That's not a lot of money, but you get discounts to a lot of these healthier products. And you can learn more about Thrive Market and get a nice discount to receive 30% off your first order and some free gifts by clicking the link in the notes down below. Okay, here are the top 3 most popular brands in each of those 10 categories I spoke about, and then the healthier swaps. Let's start with yogurt. These 3 yogurt brands contain variations with high fructose corn syrup. Yoplait yogurt, Dannon Fruit at the Bottom yogurt, and Activia Light. Healthier swaps to those will be GT's Cocoa Yo, Wallaby Organic Aussie Greek Yogurt, Maple Hill Creamery Yogurt, and 100% grass-fed kefir. Now let's discuss granola bars. Here are the top 3 brands that contain high fructose corn syrup. Quaker Chewy Granola Bars, Nature Valley Sweet and Salty Nut Bars, and Kellogg's Nutri-Grain bars. Healthier swaps for this, although granola in general is not ideal for weight loss, but if you're gonna do a healthier swap, then Purely Elizabeth granola is better than most brands out there. There's no high fructose corn syrup in their products. Now let's discuss protein bars. The top 3 brands that have high fructose corn syrup are the Power Bar, MetRx Big 100 bars, and Cliff Builders protein bars. Healthier swaps would be Paleo Valley beef sticks, Epic protein bars and beef jerky, and Bulletproof collagen bars. Now let's move on to breakfast cereals. Here are the top 3 brands that contain high fructose corn syrup. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, and General Mills Trix. Healthier swaps that do not contain high fructose corn syrup would be 3 Wishes cereal and Catalina Crunch. Now let's move on to smoothies and fruit juices. Here are the top 3 brands you want to avoid: Minute Maid, V8 Splash, and Naked Juice smoothies. A lot of these varieties contain a high concentration of fructose and high fructose corn syrup. I don't have any swaps for these because fruit juice and smoothies in general are just not going to be healthy for you, and they're not going to help you burn fat. They're going to help you store fat. What you can do as a swap here is to have the whole fruit, especially around exercise. That'll be much better for you. Next, we have salad dressings. You want to avoid Kraft's salad dressings, Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing, and Ken's Steakhouse salad dressings. Healthier swaps and alternatives will be from Primal Kitchen salad dressings. They have a whole bunch of different types. They're all clean, no high fructose corn syrup, no bad seed oils. They use avocado oil. It's personally what I use. Next, we have some condiments like barbecue sauce and ketchup. Here are the brands you want to avoid: Heinz ketchup, Hunt's ketchup, Del Monte ketchup, Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, Casey Masterpiece barbecue sauce, and Kraft Original barbecue sauce. All of these are loaded with hidden ingredients that contain high fructose corn syrup. Healthier swaps, again, the Primal Kitchen is a great brand for ketchup and barbecue sauce, no high fructose corn syrup. In addition, Annie's organic ketchup is also a good option too. Next, we have whole wheat and multi-grain breads. Here are the brands you want to avoid: Wonder Bread, Sara Lee bread, and Arnold Brownberry Oro wheat bread. Healthier swaps, although bread in general is not a good idea if you want to lose weight. But if you're gonna choose a bread, I would recommend Base Culture sourdough bread. No seed oils, no high fructose corn syrup. Pretty good. Next, we have sports drinks. Here are the ones you want to avoid: Gatorade, Powerade, and All Sport. Healthier swaps would be high quality electrolytes that are sweetened with either monk fruit or stevia. My personal favorite brands are Element, Redmond's Relight, Keto Chow, and Ultima. I have some coupon codes for a couple of these companies, which I'll put in the notes down below. Now we have instant oatmeal. The brands you want to avoid are Quaker Oat Instant Oatmeal, Great Value Instant Oatmeal, and Market Pantry Instant Oatmeal. They typically contain high fructose corn syrup. Healthier swaps, again, for this, it's a tricky one because oatmeal is a fat storage sort of meal, not a fat burning meal, so I would just remove oatmeal in general. A better option if you're looking for a healthy breakfast would be eggs and bacon cooked in butter. Great fat burning meal. It's gonna help with your energy levels as well. Let's break down intermittent fasting. It is a buzzword nowadays on Dr. Google. It's one of the top search terms on the internet. But here's the deal. Fasting has been around since the dawn of humankind. Back in the day, our ancestors, they were forced to fast by their environment. Nowadays, we kind of have to mimic our ancestors, and when we do, when we follow a fasting schedule, amazing things start to happen. And I've been following an intermittent fasting schedule since 2013, for several years now. Back then, people were saying I was stupid, I was nuts. Now they're saying, could you teach me how to do it? So I'm gonna break down 9 amazing benefits I've seen over the past 6-7 years when I've been doing fasting and teaching it to thousands of people, and I have it broken down for you on this video. And then at the end of this video, I'm gonna explain how you can practice fasting, how to do it the right way to get all of these amazing results. Let's get into the first benefit, which is actually my favorite benefit of intermittent fasting, and that's a process called autophagy. You might have heard of this process. It literally means eat thyself. Autophagy. The body is so sophisticated, it's so smart, it has an innate intelligence within it that helps your body out big time. What do I mean by that? Well, the human body has 2 pathways. We are either in a growth phase, an anabolic phase, and that's a pathway we activate called mTOR, which stands for mechanistic target of rapamycin. Whenever you hear that word mTOR, just think of metabolic growth, think of anabolic growth, think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and bodybuilders. The opposite of mTOR is a pathway called autophagy. Autophagy is more catabolic. Your body is repairing the cells, the organelles within your cells, and it turns out that out of the 70 trillion cells that we have in the human body, 70 billion of them are required to be recycled every single day and cleaned out. The process of autophagy is your body's way of cleaning out the cells. So the analogy that I like to give, this is actually a new analogy for you all here on Keto Camp. Think of that person in your grocery store in the produce section who's always putting new produce into the section, taking expired produce out of that section, making sure everything in there looks good and is fresh. That's what your body's doing when you're activating autophagy through fasting.
Your body, it's like Pac-Man going within your cells and removing expired produce and putting in healthier produce. So what happens is the body is so smart that it will go for the bad stuff, the expired proteins and mitochondria in cells first. The body develops these senescent cells that are also called zombie cells that are not really functioning. They have no function, and if we don't take care of them, they start to duplicate or mutate and they turn into cancerous cells. So when you practice fasting and activate autophagy, that's a very powerful way to clean out the junk, get rid of those zombie cells so you can live a long, healthy life. This is why world-renowned cancer researcher and oncologist Dr. Thomas Seyfried, who wrote the book Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, he's been known as saying that if you were to complete a 7-day water fast once per year, you would reduce your chances of any cancer by 95%. That's a powerful statement right there because it's autophagy at work. The problem is that Americans eat 17 to 21 times per day. That's what the average American does. Can you believe that? I'm not saying they're sitting down at a meal 17 to 21 times per day, but I'm saying that every time they reach for a handful of nuts, a bite of that yogurt, a protein bar, a sip of kombucha, that juice, that's a meal to the body. And the average American does that 17 to 21 times per day. So they're never getting autophagy. They're in this constant fed state, constant mTOR state, leading to disease in the body. We have an epidemic of cancer. 1 out of 2 men in America get cancer. And a big part of that is that we're in a constant growth stage. So when you practice fasting and turn on this autophagy switch, it's a powerful way to reduce your risk of cancer because the body is so smart, it knows what to do. Our job is to remove the interference by practicing fasting and let the body clean itself out. It's like this ship that's cruising or through the Atlantic Ocean, and all of a sudden it's encountering this major storm. And it's going through these rough seas and it's taking on all this water. There's 100 people on this cruise ship. All of a sudden they're starting to sink. So I'm going to relate this to fasting. Fasting is an acute stressor to the body. What is the captain of that ship going to say? He's going to order all the crew members to dump the least amount, the least important cargo on this ship so we could become lighter and get through that storm. That's what your body's doing when you fast. It's going to get rid of least important cargo so you can get through the storm and live a long, healthy life. That's the first benefit of intermittent fasting. The second benefit of intermittent fasting is you get a rise in stem cells. Now you might be thinking, stem cells, isn't that something you got to pay thousands of dollars for and get it from like umbilical cords and there's a lot of issues surrounding that? Yeah, that's one way, but I don't know if you knew this, the human body produces a new stem cell for every cell that's replaced from autophagy. So your body gets rid of a damaged cell and it sends a signal, it's so smart, to produce a new healthier cell. So you get this rise in stem cells. It's absolutely incredible. The body knows what to do. We were designed to live and thrive, not to just survive. I believe we were designed to live 120 years old, at least, disease-free. And fasting is a powerful way, and a very important way, to get there. So when you have this rise in stem cells, the body's going to heal old injuries. I'll give you a perfect example. Earlier this year, I did a 5-day water fast, and I got this amazing autophagy, maximum autophagy during this fast. And I calculated that and I have videos on how you can do that on the YouTube channel here. But I had pain in my lower back area that I hadn't experienced in so many years. It had been probably 7, 8, 10 years since I've had this lower back pain. When I used to be obese, I used to always pull out my back. So I had areas in my lower back that needed healing and I experienced pain through my long block fast. And it was autophagy at work. So if you ever did a block fast and you experience pain in your neck, your back, that's autophagy at work. It's repairing that area. That's a stem cell being produced that's healthier and better for the body. Amazing. So that's the second benefit of fasting. It's a rise in stem cells. The third benefit of fasting is that you get a boost in ketones, baby. We know that the cells that we have, all 70 trillion cells, could only choose 2 sources of fuel. We're either burning sugar or we're burning fat. 90% of people are sugar burners. When I was obese, weighing 80 pounds heavier than you see right now in front of you, I was a sugar burner, meaning I taught my body to burn glucose for its primary fuel source. There's a problem with burning sugar as your primary fuel source. It's a very toxic source of fuel to the body. If you look at the byproducts that are created after burning sugar, it's a long list. And if you look at the byproducts that are created after burning ketones, shorter list. So the way I compare it is that burning glucose, burning sugar, that's like a Mack truck that is going through the highway, speeding through the highway with 8 exhaust pipes and all of this smoke coming out of the Mack truck. It's not healthy for the environment. It's probably not going to get to its destination safely. That's what it's like when your cells are burning sugar for fuel. When you practice fasting and now you're producing ketones, that's like a Tesla cruising through the highway, no smoke coming out of its exhaust pipe, much better for the environment. So what happens is your body's gonna start burning down your fat stores when you practice fasting, when you do it the right way, which I'll explain at the end of this video. You know, we talk about the keto diet, I talk about it a lot. Keto Camp's my company. 70 to 75% of total calories should come from fat in order to get into ketosis, but here's something that a lot of people don't understand. That fat does not have to be eaten through food. It could be from your body fat stores. So you have an option here. You can get the calories that you need from that plate of food in front of you, or you can get it from your butts, your hips, your thighs. You choose. So when you fast, you break down your fat stores, pull out energy from your fat stores, produce ketones, and your body thrives, and you feel really damn good. Number 4 benefit of intermittent fasting is something that Dr. Pompa, my coach and mentor, has coined, energy diversion. I love this benefit because here's what happens. It takes massive amounts of energy and resources and blood flow to digest food. To take that food that you just ate from macronutrients and assimilate it to micronutrients and spread it throughout the body, that takes a lot of resources in the body. Now, when you practice fasting, now all of a sudden you have all this energy, all these resources, and it's being directed to the task at hand, to crush your day. And you feel damn good because you're not using energy for digestion. Think of it this way. When you have a day off from work, we just had the holidays here, New Year, Christmas, you had some extra days off from work. Did you spend some of that time organizing your room? Did you spend some of that time getting some chores done? Of course you did. That's what the body does. You start taking energy and you have time for healing the body and repairing the body. That's energy diversion at work, and you get it when you practice fasting. Okay, we're 4 benefits in. I'm gonna get to the 5th one now. But before I do, please hit that thumbs up button here on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed to the Keto Camp YouTube channel yet, hit that subscribe button with the thumbs up. We release a brand new video just about every single day. In fact, during the month of January 2020, we are committed to releasing a brand new video on the Keto Camp YouTube channel every day during this month. So stay tuned for that. The 5th benefit, this is great for entrepreneurs. You get an increase in brain function, mental focus, clarity, because the body, like I mentioned in the previous tip, is not using energy for digestion. So all of a sudden, it's going to fire up your brain. All that blood flow that would have been used to process food is now being directed to the brain. And you get an increase in something called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which, by the way, is like miracle grow for your brain. The more BDNF you have, the more sharp you are, mental focus and clarity you have, and you feel damn good. Let's face it, there's an epidemic of brain diseases out there, Alzheimer's and it's dementia, it's rampant. And with fasting, it's a powerful way to heal the body, to heal the brain. So you get an increase in all of this when you practice fasting. And you might have noticed yourself, I feel like I have superpowers when I'm in a fasted state. In fact, I'm fasted right now, and I get most of my work done when I'm fasted. When I'm giving a presentation, when I'm speaking in front of an audience, I'm going to be in a fasted state because I feel like a rock star and my brain is firing on all cylinders. The number 6 benefit of intermittent fasting is something called hormone optimization, also coined by Dr. Pompa. It turns out that we have over 600 hormones in the human body. And what the hormones are doing, they're sending signals to our cells, all 70 trillion cells, our fat-burning hormones, our anti-aging hormones, our feel-good hormones. They're just sending signals. They're like chemical messengers. Think of that traffic cop that's at the end of your block there with that traffic light being out, and it's directing traffic. You come this way, you come that way. That's kind of what your hormones are doing in the body, and you have over 600 of them, and they just want to do the job of sending signals to your cells so your cells could produce the job of burning fat and feeling good. When you practice fasting, your hormones become more sensitive, meaning they are more efficient at getting into your cells so you can burn fat, so you can feel good, so you can anti-age and feel like a rock star. So that's hormone optimization. The problem with being in a fed state, which is the opposite of fasting, eating every 2 to 3 hours, your hormones become desensitized. When you look at insulin resistance, that is your hormone insulin being desensitized. It can no longer attach to your cell receptor sites and get into your cells and do the job of pushing glucose into the cell. That's a perfect example right there. So when you practice fasting, your hormones become more sensitive and you feel better and you get faster results. Number 7 benefit, it resets. When you fast, it resets your gut microbiome. I explained a little bit earlier how it takes massive amounts of energy and resources to process food. Well, when you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, if you're not at least fasting 14 hours every single day, it's going to create a backlog in your body and it's going to create a lot of problems. When we look at a study that was done at the University of Virginia by triple board certified Dr. Zach Bush, they got college students and they examined how long it took for a standard American diet meal, which was pizza in this case. How long did that take for that meal to get processed from chewing it to being out of the colon? It took 14 hours. Meaning if we're not fasting for at least 14 hours, it's creating a backlog and it's creating problems in the gut. That's why so many people experience digestive issues, gas, bloating, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea, constipation. It's because they have overworked their gut. But when you practice fasting, your body finally is going to start repairing that gut and getting rid of all those symptoms, which is acid reflux and all the things that I mentioned. It's like a corporate worker named Mary who works 8 hours every single day, 9 to 5, 8 hours, and she puts in so much work at her office. And now she's walking to her car. It's 5 p.m. at night. She's exhausted from putting in 8 hours of work, and she gets a phone call from her boss. Mary, I know you just put in a lot of work, but we need you to come back in for a project. It should take about 4 hours. So she comes back in, reluctantly so, and she puts in another 4 hours. It's now 9 p.m. at night. She's walking back to her car, exhausted, ready to finally get some rest and recover, and she gets that same phone call from her boss. We need you to come back in for another project. Imagine this happening to Mary for weeks, years. It's going to destroy Mary. That's what's happening to your digestive system when you do not practice fasting. You're overworking it. So fasting is a powerful way to finally give your digestive system a break, and it could reset and repair your gut microbiome. I got 2 more benefits for you, and then I'm going to explain how you can practice fasting and my favorite fasting schedule. If this has been helpful so far here on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button with the bell so you're notified when we release a brand new video. Number 8 benefit, your body starts to reset the DNA, turning off bad genes, turning on good genes when you practice fasting. Every cell, all 70 trillion cells that we have in the body, has our DNA nucleus within the cell. Now it's true, we cannot change the genes that we are born with, but we can change the expression of those genes via a process called epigenetics. We have upwards of 90% control over the expression of those genes. So think of genes as a light switch you turn on and a light switch you turn off. When a person has cellular inflammation, so cell membrane inflammation, it sends a signal to your DNA to turn on bad genes, cancerous genes, diabetes genes, whatever it is that you have in your body. It's turned on and then it's a problem. When you practice fasting, it downregulates cellular inflammation, repairing the cell membrane, and it turns off those bad genes, turning on longevity genes like the SIRT1 gene. Okay, so fasting is a powerful way to control your genes and control your future, because genes do not determine our destiny. We do. Yeah, the genes we're born with are the bullets that load the gun, but you determine whether or not you pull the trigger on that gun. The final benefit here, and it's actually the least important one, but it is a benefit, and I know a lot of you want this benefit, fat loss. You do lose serious weight, and you could even reverse insulin resistance and reverse type 2 diabetes with fasting. Because when you're not eating, well, your body is going to pull out fat stores, fat cells. It's going to burn fat cells and pull out fat from your liver, from your organs, from your hips, from your thighs for energy. And to give you an example here, here's an extreme example. Do you know what the Guinness World Record is for the longest recorded water fast? I wrote about him in my book, The Intermittent Fasting Cheat Sheet, which you can get for free over at fastingcheatsheet.com. His name was Angus Burberry, and he fasted for 382 days. Okay? He was a 450-pound, morbidly obese Scotsman, and he went on a medically supervised water-only fast with a multivitamin for 382 days. After 382 days, he went from 450 pounds to 180 pounds. He didn't have any loose skin. His electrolytes looked fantastic. His blood work looked great. He felt amazing. This is an extreme example to show you the body knows what to do. I would argue that, yeah, this gentleman Angus didn't put food in his mouth for 382 days, but he did eat. His body was eating all the body fat he had. So when you fast, you'll pull out body fat, you'll use that for fuel. That's the way we were designed to be. So it's okay to not have a muffin in your mouth every 3 hours. That's why we don't die when we're sleeping. We're fasting. The body knows what to do. Okay, I broke down 9 amazing benefits of fasting. I want to know which one was your favorite. I'll give you an overview and then I'm going to explain how to practice fasting and my favorite fasting schedule. So was your favorite benefit autophagy? Was your favorite benefit stem cells, a rise in stem cells? Was it a boost in ketones? Was it energy diversion for healing? Was it increased brain function? Was it hormone optimization? Was it resetting the gut microbiome? Was it resetting the DNA? Was it fat loss? Put a comment down below with your favorite benefit. Now, how do you practice fasting? Here's a 3-step approach. Number 1, get keto adapted first. It takes about 28 days. That's the way I teach it in the Keto Camp Academy, to get keto fat adapted, to teach your body to have metabolic flexibility. You want to do that first because fasting is like a muscle. It's a very powerful tool that you want to develop. It's a muscle you want to develop over time. So I say you get keto adapted. It takes 28 days. I teach you step by step, week by week in the Keto Camp Academy how to do so. And then once you are keto adapted, then we pair intermittent fasting. And how you start is just by not eating anything 3 hours before bed and 3 hours after waking up. And then eventually, here's my favorite fasting schedule for most people, is an 18-6 format. 18 hours out of the day, you're in a fasted state. 6 hours out of the day, you're in a fed state. So an 18-6 format. What does that look like on your calendar? 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., you're eating at least one of those meals until full, reminding the body that it's not starving. And then 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. the next day, you're in a fasted state, just having some water and some sea salt. Did you know that most of your fat-burning hormones are activated during a process during sleep called delta sleep? That's true. You actually burn more fat getting delta sleep than you do at the gym. I see so many people doing crazy things trying to burn belly fat, taking dangerous supplements, doing fad diets, doing extreme workouts, when in reality, if you just did a few of these things before bed, you're gonna burn a ton of belly fat. The goal is to achieve enough deep delta sleep. During delta sleep, your body ramps up fat burning production. And I'm going to share with you 5 simple things to do before bed to get deep delta sleep. The first step here in your protocol is to have banana tea at night before bed. What is banana tea? Banana tea is like nature's NyQuil. It turns out that the peel of the banana has more micronutrients, magnesium, potassium, and other really important micronutrients that help you feel relaxed than the actual banana itself. Now, what you're gonna do is grab a whole organic banana. You're going to leave the peel on the banana, but cut off the ends, and then you're gonna put that banana into a pot of water. Maybe put 2 cups of water and boil it. You want to boil that water for about 4 minutes until the peel starts to turn brown a little bit. At that point, what you're going to do is turn off the stove and pour that water, not the banana, but just the banana tea, the water, into a cup. You're going to sip that at night. What that's going to do, it's going to help your body get into a relaxed parasympathetic state to prepare you for good, amazing fat burning delta sleep. If you're somebody like me who has a lot of racing thoughts at night, it also helps calm the brain as well. So your first step is to make that banana tea, drink it every night. The second step here is no food at least 3 hours before bed. The closer you eat to bed, the less deep fat burning sleep you'll get and the more inflammation you'll cause in your body. This is one of the biggest fat loss mistakes people make. They eat too close to bedtime. When you consume energy, food, before bed, but then you're not active to use that energy, your body starts storing that as fat, and it actually causes more belly fat to pack on your body.
Another thing that happens here is when you eat before bed, it raises your core body temperature. And that is not good if you want to get deep delta sleep. Your body temperature actually needs to drop in order to achieve that fat burning deep sleep. Another thing that happens when you eat before bed and then lie down, you're gonna increase the acid that rises in your esophagus that could actually lead to acid reflux and other digestive issues. You probably have also noticed when you eat before bed, when you wake up the next morning, you're gonna feel more groggy, more fatigued, more hungry as well, because when you eat before bed, you're not gonna get great sleep. And when you don't get great sleep the next morning, you're gonna have higher levels of the hunger hormone ghrelin, which tells you to go eat more food, less levels of the satiety fat burning hormone leptin, and you're gonna have higher levels of cortisol, which raises glucose and raises the fat storage hormone insulin. This is a disaster if you're trying to burn belly fat. So the 3-hour rule works well here. If you give yourself at least 3 hours of digestion before you go to bed, it's gonna allow your body to lower its body temperature, finish the digestive process, and get into deep fat burning sleep. So if you go to bed at 11 p.m. each night, the kitchen should be closed by 8 p.m. That gives you 3 good hours. Now, if you really want to speed up fat loss, especially when it comes to belly fat, give yourself even more time of fasting before bed. There's also a special time between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. called money time sleep window. It's been said that 1 hour of sleep within that time frame, 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., is equivalent to 2 hours of sleep outside of that window as it pertains to this deep delta fat burning sleep that we want to achieve. So if you can get to bed by 10 p.m. with at least no food for 3 hours before that, you're really going to tap into belly fat. The third step here in your protocol is to take this really important nutrient that is essential for deep fat burning sleep. This nutrient is responsible for over 300 enzymatic activities inside of your body, and most people are deficient in this nutrient. I'm referring to magnesium. Magnesium balances the stress in your life. Magnesium helps you achieve deep delta fat burning sleep. Magnesium helps you wake up feeling restored and refreshed from your sleep. But it has to be the right kind of magnesium. A lot of the magnesium out there just doesn't do the trick, and there's different types of magnesium: glycinate, threonate, orotate. I like using a magnesium that has 7 different spectrums, different types of magnesium, to get all the benefits of each of them. I personally use the one from 𝙈𝙊𝙍𝙍𝙍. It's called Magnesium Breakthrough, and I'll drop a link and a coupon code for them down below. The goal is to consume about 400 to 600 milligrams of a high quality magnesium right before bed. So if it's the 𝙈𝙊𝙍𝙍's Mag Breakthrough, you would just take 2 capsules before bed. That will help you increase that deep delta sleep that we want to hit. The fourth step here in your protocol is to make sure your bedroom is cold and dark. As I mentioned, in order to enter that deep fat burning delta sleep, your body temperature needs to drop. So studies suggest that if you change your thermostat to adjust it to anywhere between 62 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, that's where you're going to achieve the most deep delta fat burning sleep. And the reason I say a dark bedroom is because artificial light is a factor here as well. When you have artificial light in your bedroom from light bulbs or the alarm clock or your cell phone or computer, it's actually going to prevent you from getting good restorative fat burning sleep. So what you want to do is make your room as dark as possible, turn it into a sleep cave. That's going to really maximize your body's ability to enter that delta sleep at night. And the fifth step here in your protocol is to wear a sleep mask and to do mouth taping. Okay, let's unpack those real quick. Now, we just discussed the importance of mitigating light exposure, and the sleep mask will for sure prevent light from going into your eyes. But the reason I recommend the sleep mask is actually for a different reason. What happens is this: when you put a sleep mask on your face and you have a light pressure to your eyes and to your face from the sleep mask, it actually activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And that is the part of your nervous system branch that helps you feel relaxed, it helps you detoxify, and it helps you get ready for a nice night of deep sleep. The light pressure from the sleep mask signals to your body that you're safe and protected, and it allows you to achieve this amazing process. So I personally use the one from Boncharge called the Manta Sleep Mask. You can see I have it on here. Maybe I should have done the whole video like this. And this is the one I use. It's really comfortable. I even take it with me when I travel, and I'll drop a link for this sleep mask down below. But really, any really good sleep mask will achieve that result for you. And the next thing I mentioned is to mouth tape. I know it sounds weird and it looks pretty weird. My fiance makes fun of me all the time. But when you are breathing through your mouth at night, which most people do, that actually prevents you from getting good deep sleep, and it lowers levels of a molecule, a really important molecule in your body called nitric oxide. The goal is to breathe through your nose.
And for some of you, you could easily just consciously tell yourself, breathe through your nose at night, and you could achieve that. But for most of you, like me, I actually have to have a stimulus, like a mouth tape, to put over my mouth, which will force me to breathe through my nose. So I use this adhesive here. It's a mouth tape from Somnifix, and I simply, right before bed, I put on the sleep mask, and then I put on this piece of mouth tape. So it's really simple. I just peel this off and put this over my mouth, just like this. And when I wake up, I take it off. And this forces me to breathe through my nostrils, which helps me get more delta sleep and helps my body produce more nitric oxide, which helps lower blood pressure and lower inflammation. It might feel weird at first, and you might feel a little claustrophobic, so maybe just do it for like 30 minutes the first night, take it off, and then kind of increase from there. You could get your hands on the one I use, Somnifix, by clicking the link in the notes down below. And here's a bonus tip for you here. Don't guess, test. I mean, you could implement what I'm gonna share here and it's gonna work, but how can you gauge how much delta deep sleep you're getting? And let's unpack that, because I've been mentioning delta deep sleep and you're wondering like, what the heck does that even mean? Well, your body essentially has 3 different sleep cycles at night that you go through. You have light sleep, which is not, I mean, there's some benefits, but not tremendous amount of benefits. Then there's REM sleep, REM. REM stands for rapid eye movement. This is the part of sleep that happens during the second half of sleep that helps with memory. It helps to process short-term memory for long-term memory. But the third sleep cycle, as it pertains to what you want to achieve, burning belly fat, is deep delta sleep. This is where you want to really get enough deep delta sleep where your body activates those fat-burning hormones, you tap into visceral belly fat, and you wake up feeling refreshed. Deep delta sleep, the goal here is to get 90 minutes, an hour and a half at the minimum of deep delta sleep. And I can tell you this, I track my deep delta sleep every single night, religiously. And following the tips I just shared with you, I've been able to increase my deep delta sleep to over 2 hours every night. And that's how I've been able to stay lean, burn fat, wake up feeling refreshed. So there's different ways to test your sleep. I personally use this ring called the Oura Ring, which tracks all the stages of sleep, total sleep as well, calories, steps, and other metrics like heart rate variability. I love it. I've been using mine for almost 6 years now, and I'll drop a link for you to get an Oura Ring down below. But then there's also Fitbits and Apple Watches and Whoop bands. So just get a metric, use that as the gauge, implement the tips, and you could see how your deep sleep improves and how the belly fat melts off, and it'll happen the first night you follow these tips. This is me back in 2007. Like Steven said, I teach people how to get healthy and lose weight, but I dealt with it myself. I was 250 pounds, 34% body fat, addicted to food, fast food, drank a lot of soda, very unhealthy. This is me 21, 22 years old. I'm 39 right now, turning 40 in September, and I think I look healthier right now on stage at almost turning 40 than when I was 21, 22 years old. Addictions to video games, bad behaviors, and I knew my life was headed down a destructive path, and I was dealing with a lot of things. 24 years old, 2008, I had a broken metabolism, physical obesity and mental obesity, prediabetes, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome. And I remember having appointments with my doctor, and I would explain all the things I was dealing with. I'm overweight, I can't lose weight, I'm inflamed, I have brain fog, my whole body felt like it was on fire, high blood pressure, high blood sugar levels, and my doctor, who cared and wanted to help me, didn't have the solution. He didn't explain why I was dealing with these symptoms. He recommended medications. He recommended eating less, moving more to lose weight. But I felt hopeless with the solutions this person was giving me. And I was on the internet looking for solutions, but I felt hopeless and lost. So much so that I was looking for ways to end my life. I was exploring suicide. I was in pain every day. I would have to bring friends over my house just to be around, because when I was alone, it was all about how can I end my life. But what stopped me was thinking about my beautiful mother. I did not want her to deal with the devastation of losing her son, so it stopped me from taking my own life. It's the only reason I'm here with you today. I would have taken my life. So this is me smiling on my 23rd birthday, but don't let the smile fool you. People could be in pain. People could be depressed and suicidal, even with a smile on their face. And everything changed when I discovered this man. How many of you know this guy right here? His name is Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's passed on now, but his work lives on forever. I started reading books from this guy right here, Dr. Wayne Dyer. He would say things when I was in such a dark place, like, hey, I was blaming everybody for my problems. My genetics, my slow metabolism, my enabling family members. It was all about what was going on outside. This is the reason I'm so unhealthy. But then I got into Dr. Wayne Dyer. He would say things like, hey, if you are blaming other people for your problems, you would have to hire a psychiatrist for the rest of the world in order for you to get better. Okay, that doesn't make sense. That won't work. And he would say things like, what happens when you squeeze an orange? Let me ask you guys, what comes out when you squeeze an orange? Orange juice, right? Obviously. Why is that? That's what's inside. When life squeezes you and applies pressure to you, what comes out is what's inside, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your belief system. And at that point, it was poor for me, so my results were poor. When life applied pressure, what came out was stinking thinking. But when I took responsibility, everything changed. You see, it's not your fault. It really isn't. We're designed, it's a designed sick care system. Big pharma, big food, big gov, they're in cahoots to make us sick. So it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And everything changed when I took personal responsibility. I said these 3 words out loud, and I think a lot of people don't understand that word. That is your ability to respond to life. When your ability to respond to life is exceptional, you're going to get exceptional results. So the second I said, I am responsible, I felt empowered. I got out of that victim mindset. I took ownership, and my life changed. So here's what I want to do with you all today, right now. I want to declare that we're all responsible. And on the count of 3, we're going to yell it out and declare it together. We're going to say, I am responsible. Let's do this together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I am responsible. Whew, feels good, huh? But you can't be angry and responsible at the same time. So after that, for me, I went from 34% body fat to as low as 6% body fat, 250 pounds down to 170 pounds, size 38 waist to size 30 waist, completely changed my, of course, physical appearance, and a physical six-pack is great, but you know what's more important than that? A mental six-pack. I overcame the depressive thoughts, the suicidal thoughts. And that was 16 plus years ago. I didn't gain the weight back because I focused on the metabolism. Now I get to speak and share at this amazing conference, which I'm so honored to speak at. By the way, guys, the timer is not running. AV team, the timer is not running, so I don't know how much time is on there. So I'm honored to speak at this conference. Robin is a blessing to all of us. And if I could do it, look, you could do it too. The body is built to be self-healing. I've written 4 best-selling books. I have a new book coming out June of 2025 with Hay House. And here's the cool thing. Dr. Wayne Dyer was a Hay House author. He changed and saved my life, and I get to call myself a Hay House author. It's such a full circle moment. So let's get into this. I'm not special, really, meaning like when you have the combination to a code, you unlock the code. It doesn't matter what your circumstances are, where you're from, the color of your skin. Like if you have the combination to the health code, you unlock the code. I said to myself many years ago, like imagine what would happen if I put this into a step-by-step system. And actually what happened a month ago is I decided to experiment with this on my YouTube channel, Ben Azadi YouTube channel. So I created this video about a month ago. You can see it has almost 400,000 views in a month. How to lose a pound of fat every day, 7-day protocol to burn fat. And it's based off of like 16 plus years of research and experience and working with a whole bunch of my beautiful students here, the keto campers that are here. And here are some of the comments I got from people who have decided to do this protocol. You can see, oh my God, I've been following this within a week from my husband, lost 8.8 pounds. Husband's down as well. You know, what's interesting there is that she lost more than the husband. Usually it's the other way around. Easy to read, it's enjoyable. I cooked a lot of lovely foods, etc. Never felt hungry. I'm so glad I found you. More comments like this. After watching dozens of fat loss videos, this video is the best, most succinct, usable content by far. Thank you. Love fasting. I'm down 18 pounds in 3 months, doing an 18-6, etc. This has been the most informative video I've ever watched on losing weight, etc. Best video I've ever seen on the subject. Thank you, new subscriber. This might be the best summary of all time on the web. But then I got comments like this. And this. I also get Christopher Walken, that I sound like him. Adam Sandler, some guy named Kill Tony, apparently he's a funny guy. Anyways, that was an experiment to see if I could take it to people online, and it works. So today's presentation is about kind of that video, what I did in that video, but also 16 plus years in research. And how I'm going to do this with you all today, I'm going to present the problem, and there are 5 main ones and 2 bonuses, and then I'm going to give you a protocol for the solutions for all of them. So let's start with some of the stats out there. We know disease is on the rise. 1 in 2 men are diagnosed with cancer in America. For women, it's 1 in 3. More than 60% of Americans are diabetic or pre-diabetic. By the year 2032, they're predicting that 1 in 2 children will be born on the autism spectrum. 1 person dies from heart disease every 33 seconds, about 695,000 people. That's 1 in every 5 deaths. And some of the stats on diabetes, I shared the 60%, but we also have every 17 seconds, another individual is diagnosed with diabetes. Each day, approximately 5,082 people are diagnosed with diabetes. That's 1.9 million people per year. In addition to those newly diagnosed, every 24 hours, 238 amputations with people with diabetes, 120 people who enter end-stage kidney disease programs, and 48 go blind. 68% get heart disease, 16% get a stroke, 70% get neuropathy. And here's the thing, all these stats are on people who are on diabetes medication. Just because somebody is on diabetes medication, type 2 I'm talking about here, doesn't make them exempt from those statistics, because it's not getting to the cause. And here's the truth. It's rare to die from diabetes. People die from the diseases connected to it. And this is the exact thing I saw with my dad. My dad and my mom immigrated to the United States from Iran in 1978, and I was born in America in 1984, first generation American. My dad followed a standard American diet. He didn't know any better. You do the best you can according to your level of awareness. And he developed type 2 diabetes. Again, as a kid, I didn't understand it. Year after year, his condition got worse. He gained more weight, started to lose his vision, get diabetic neuropathy. And in 2013, November of 2013, and you could take this off the screen right now. 2013, my dad called me in November 2013, and he said he was having really bad diabetic neuropathy where he couldn't even walk to the restroom. So I went to go get my mom, and I picked him up, and we drove him to the hospital, Mount Sinai Medical Center in Miami Beach, and got him a hospital room there. And what happens is this, if the diabetic neuropathy continues to progress, then an infection could occur because of the lack of blood flow and nutrients and oxygen getting to that part of the body. And that infection could spread to the rest of the body and potentially kill the person. So the solution is to amputate the foot or both the feet to prevent that infection from spreading. And they were explaining this to me and my dad in the hospital. So the fact that he might lose his feet became a clear reality for my dad. And in the hospital, he suffered a massive stroke, which caused him to become paralyzed, and he lost his ability to speak. And one of the most insane things is that the doctors and the nurses didn't even know he was having a stroke in the hospital. After we took him to the hospital, I came back the next day, and I walk into the room. How are you doing, Dad? And he's not talking to me. He's just looking at me like he wants to say something, but nothing's coming through his voice. Dad, are you okay? How come you're not talking to me? And he's just staring at me. So I ran into the hallway and I grabbed the doctors, and my dad's not talking. I don't know what's going on. He's not speaking to me. And they do tests and they determine that he suffered a stroke. He was there the whole night. They didn't even realize this guy was suffering a stroke. And it got to the point where he lost his ability to speak. His entire right side of his body became paralyzed. So they transferred him to hospice care, and I would visit him every week. And if you've ever been to a hospice facility, it's a dark energy. It's not a healing environment. Hospitals are not a healing environment either. But I would be there for my dad, and I would show up and talk about what's going on in my life. Here's what's happening with my sister. We got this new dog, Ziggy. That's when I got my dog, Ziggy, when my dad was in hospice. And I would play music for him and just console him. And every week, his body was shrinking before my eyes. He was hopeless with the way he was just looking at me. He couldn't even talk to me. And 9 months into this, it was August 11th, 2014, Monday night, went to the hospice. Standing outside that door, because I put on a persona to be positive for my dad when I walk in that door. So I'm working on myself to put on that persona. Okay, I'm ready to go. I walk in that door, and he's got throw up all over himself. He's convulsing, and he's shaking, and he looked terrible. And I've never shown this photo before. I'll put it on the screen. Sorry. This is me visiting him, playing music for him, and he used to always feed birds when I was a kid, and look, there's a bird right by him. And that night, they cleaned them up. And I looked at him in the eyes and I told him how much I loved him. I told him he's always going to be my dad, I'm always going to be his son. I kissed him on the forehead, and I didn't realize it back then, but I was giving him permission to let go. He was holding on for 9 months. And I told him the words, "Hasta la vista, baby," from the movie Terminator. He loved that movie. He said it to me all the time when he said goodbye. And I said, "Hasta la vista, baby." And I drove home that night crying. I got home and I would pray to God like I prayed every night for months. God, please end my father's suffering. He suffered enough. Just end his suffering. Let him be in peace. And there was a feeling and an energy that night that I hadn't experienced before. And the next day I wake up and I go about my day and I get a phone call at noon from the hospice. My hands are shaking. From the hospice, and my heart just sunk in my chest. And I knew something was wrong, and I pick up the phone and they let me know my dad passed away that morning. And a wave of emotions came over me. If you've ever dealt with somebody in hospice or somebody that you love that's passed away, there's a lot of pain there. There's solace in knowing they're no longer in pain. Then there's the reality that you lost that person. And it raised a lot of questions for me. Like, why did my dad have to go down this path? Why are so many people in this system that is broken and not getting to the cause? And it took me learning and teaching health from a hobby to a purpose and a passion. And it's why I'm here with you today. It's what lights me up. And I know my dad would be alive today. If I would have applied what I'm going to teach you today, he would be alive today, sitting in the audience, watching all the cool things I'm up to. But I also get this. I was given that mountain so I could show the world that this mountain can be moved. Your body was built to be self-healing. I don't care what any practitioner tells you that you need something external. It is not true. It is all within here. And one of the things that I love is to reverse type 2 diabetes. And we actually have a mission in the next 10 years to track 1 million people and reverse their type 2 diabetes in 1 million people. And that is the mountain to show people that it can be moved. And this is what I had to do, and I think a lot of us come to this realization sooner or later. The illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and then relearn. Let's talk about that a little bit. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. We saw that the last 4 years, didn't we? And one of those lies is the fear of dietary fat, and there's a term that I call lipophobia, which is a fear of dietary fat based off of 50 years of propaganda and misinformation. And one of the reasons why they think cholesterol causes heart disease, for example, is because when you look at the arteries in an autopsy of a heart attack victim, you see a lot of cholesterol built up in the arteries. Therefore, the cholesterol was the cause of the heart attack. That's like saying, hey, every time there's a fire in my neighborhood, I notice firefighters at the scene of the crime, so they must be the cause of each fire. That's a stupid thought, isn't it? Because they're there, what? To put out the inflammation. Cholesterol is there to put out the inflammation of the body. So we know Dr. 𝙎𝙬𝘽𝙎, who's here. Love Dr. 𝙎𝙬𝘽𝙎. Yeah, give Dr. 𝙎𝙬𝘽𝙎 a big round of applause. Yeah. And I got a clip from a podcast I did with him on my Metabolic Freedom podcast, and he's going to make the case that the only cause of heart disease is damage to the blood vessel lining. So check this out.
Forms of heart disease, but the most common form is what we call atherosclerotic heart disease, the buildup of plaque within the arteries of the heart that can ultimately lead to things like heart attacks. And when you look at atherosclerotic heart disease, it really comes down to one major factor, and that is damage to the blood vessel wall. That is the inciting event that has to happen for these plaques to start to build up. Now, what causes that damage? That's where we get into some different factors.
That's the question.
Ones,
yeah.
Yep. The big ones are going to be insulin resistance, first, and foremost, probably the most common problem today. Smoking is another big one. Now, we've done a pretty good job at cutting down on the smoking rates. And, that ultimately is what led to some of the improvements we saw around heart disease, throughout the 1980s, 1990s, and, up until about 2000, when that downward trend that we were seeing started to go back up again. Probably high blood pressure is the other most common one we see. But again, high blood pressure acts via insulin resistance.
So high blood pressure acts via insulin resistance. Insulin was the common theme there, wasn't it? So why isn't the truth being told to us? Well, there are 15.4 billion reasons why. That's how much the statin industry made in 2023. We know that cholesterol is not an issue. As a matter of fact, most heart attacks take place with normal to low cholesterol than high cholesterol. And this is in 2009. We've known this for quite some time. And as another matter of fact, having a total cholesterol under 200 can be problematic. I had Dr. Nathan Bryan, who's a world-renowned nitric oxide researcher, and in this 60-second clip, he's going to explain why you don't want a low cholesterol. Check it out.
That you're more concerned if somebody has a total cholesterol of less than 200 versus somebody who has a higher cholesterol. Explain that and what it does to block nitric oxide.
Our body makes cholesterol, and so our body doesn't make mistakes. If our body needs cholesterol, our body's going to make it upon demand. So we get cholesterol from the diet. We also get it through endogenous production. Cholesterol is also the backbone for things like testosterone, estrogen, vitamin D. So if our cholesterol gets too low, we can't make hormones for vitamin D. We have a global epidemic of testosterone deficiency in men and hormone imbalances in women and vitamin D deficiency. Our body heals itself, right? Our body senses what's going on and self-corrects. But if we have a drug that inhibits endogenous cholesterol production, which is what a statin does, then our body can't respond. So if it senses that we're not getting enough cholesterol or we need to make it, then the body can't. The consequences of that are obviously obvious now.
Most doctors won't tell you that, right? And he also has another video, which I'm not going to share, but he talks about mouthwash, antiseptic mouthwash, blocking nitric oxide and raising high blood pressure and risk of cardiovascular disease. And keto, for example, ketones are very protective, actually, for the heart. And one of the most common things I get on social media is, I'm doing keto, my cholesterol's up, what should I do, Ben? And I usually say, good job, you probably feel better. But here's the thing. I mean, this study is showing that ketones actually have a protective effect for the heart. And that makes sense because ketones are signaling molecules that work with the mitochondria, and the heart have one of the highest concentration of the heart cells have the highest concentration, or one of the highest concentrations of mitochondria in their cells. And we know that since 1930, and here's the thing, this might trigger some people, and hear my heart here. Obesity is not a genetic problem. In 1930s, obesity rates were less than 1%. Our genetics don't change that fast because it's about to be 50%. Somebody tell that to Oprah. But check this out. Here's how it goes. 1988, you can see we didn't have anything over 14% until the early 90s, and as you can see, as it progresses, 15 to 19%, 20%, over 20% in certain states, and it goes on and on and on into the 2000s, and it's grown and grown and grown. Harvard is saying by the year 2030, half of the population in the United States will be obese. This study is showing that only 12% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, or metabolically healthy, meaning 88% of people are in a keto deficiency, essentially. And then the other study, which is the title of my talk, showing 93% of American adults are metabolically unhealthy, and I say they're in a keto deficiency. They just forgot how to burn fat. So obesity was very uncommon before the 1970s, and the goal is to get to the problem and to prevent it. Einstein said, intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. So how do we do that? It's all about metabolism. Metabolism can be very complicated, and it can be very simple. I'll explain the simple version. The Greeks call metabolism transform. Your body takes food, protein, fat, carbohydrates, and transforms that into energy. Or you take sunshine, or oxygen, or body fat, and you use it for energy and burn fat. The metabolism was built that way, and it's all about cellular metabolism. So now we get into the 5 root causes of metabolic dysfunction and the protocols. Number 1 is going to be high glucose and insulin spikes. High insulin levels is the first domino to fall that will lead to all of the metabolic conditions and cancers and heart disease, etc. And here's the thing. There's a study called the Whitehall study which showed that on average, people's fasting blood sugar levels won't change for about 14 years because insulin is being cranked out at a high aggressive rate, keeping those fasting blood sugars down. And then after 14 years, the beta cells of the pancreas and the receptor sites for insulin are inflamed. Now the blood sugars increase, and then it's a type 2 diabetes diagnosis. And we know that leads to high blood pressure, cancer, autoimmune, etc. But the first domino to fall is insulin. So one of the most important things I want you to get done this year is a fasting insulin. Make sure it's in the single digits. That's an important test. The average American consumes over 200 grams of carbs per day. And according to my colleague, Dr. Don Klum, they're eating 17 to 23 times per day. Ben, that's made up, dude. There's no way that's true. Well, think about it. It's the grazing, the sip of kombucha, the handful of almonds. These are healthy examples, I guess. Almonds, maybe not. But every time you eat something, a meal or a snack, you raise glucose and insulin, it's a meal to the body. And the average person is doing that pretty much every hour they're awake. And this is showing how destructive glucose is in your body when it's elevated. This study shows that if your A1C, which is the 3-month average of your glucose, and Dr. Boz could give you a masterclass on that, if your A1C is at 7.5% or higher, every year it's at that level, you lose 100 days off your lifespan. All right, I did the math for you. Actually, my fiance helped me do the math here. If it's at that level for 15 years, you lose 4 years off your lifespan. That's how destructive high levels of glucose is inside of your body. So the analogy here from my friend Dr. Jason Fung is this. What would happen if I grab my phone, got Spotify, and of course I'm going to listen to the Killers because they're the greatest rock band in the world, and I start listening to the Killers, Mr. Brightside, When You Were Young, all my favorite songs, and over and over and over, but I never take a break. I have the headphones on, music at 50%, but I never take the break. I go to bed listening to Mr. Brightside. I wake up listening to When You Were Young. I just keep listening to the music. After about a month, the volume is going to sound like it's decreasing. Am I going deaf, or why can't I hear it the same way I did a month ago? Well, instead of taking a break from the music, I just increased the volume to 70% because I could do that on my phone. Same thing, listen to it for a month, and imagine I keep doing this for a few months until I'm at 100% volume. What is happening? I'm going deaf to the music. Now, what is happening when you're eating high carbs and eating it frequently? You're going deaf. Your receptor sites, your insulin receptor sites, can't hear the message of insulin. Your pancreas, the beta cells, are screaming at your cells, producing insulin because of the amount of carbs you're having, but the message is not heard. And the blood sugars are increased, and we're damaging our tissues, and we're damaging our body. So what's the solution? Dial down the music. Keto and fasting. And I'm going to give you 2 easy ways to burn fat instead of sugar in the next 7 days. This is a keto beginner tip. If you're already doing keto, this probably won't be relevant for you. But the first tip is the 2-2-2-2 rule. You just eat these quality fats throughout the day, not all at once, but throughout the day. for 7 days to get your body familiar with burning fatty acids instead of glucose. You can see it's olive oil, coconut oil, whatever your favorite fats are, and then 2 teaspoons of sea salt to replenish the minerals and electrolytes that are lost as you lower insulin. Second step is to simply gradually, and by the way, this is, even if you know this stuff, it's a great tip to give to your friends who are sugar burners and actually could transition to fat burning. The next step is to slowly decrease your carbs until you reach under 50 total grams of carbs. That's going to shift the switch to your metabolism to tap into your body fat. And if you do it with the increase of sea salt and the healthy fats, there shouldn't be anything like a keto flu or a headache. It's an easy transition. And I like the Chronometer app to track that. There's another important thing to consider with keto. It's the soccer mom organ, the liver. And I say that because, like a soccer mom that does so many things, the liver does so many things for the human body. And it's really important to support bile to break down dietary fat, especially when you're increasing your fat. So we do that with bitters. I know it's not necessarily carnivore, but bitter for the liver. So these bitters stimulate bile production, help to break down fat, and that's a list of my favorite. The coffee, for sure, is my #1 favorite one on there. And then the next thing is to practice intermittent fasting once you're fat adapted. And Danielle Hamilton, I'm not sure if she's here, but yesterday her lecture was fantastic because she talked about how we're designed, our hormones are designed to eat most of our calories during the day. And there's an interesting study. You can see this is an 18-6 fasting protocol here, but I put in there 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. have your eating window in there. And there's a very interesting study from University of Birmingham by Dr. Courtney Peterson. They took 2 groups, controlled everything in the lab. One group ate their meals between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., which is the schedule I'm recommending here. The other group ate between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. So same fasting window, same eating window, same food, same calorie. They controlled everything. But what was interesting is that after 4 days of doing this, the early time-restricted feeding group, meaning the group that ate between this window, had 22% more autophagy. They measured it through a protein called LC3A protein, 22% more autophagy, that self-cleansing process, and 10% of their sirtuin genes were activated, which protects their DNA, with just eating early in the day. Now, I know that's not ideal for a lot of our schedule, but if you could just get into the habit of getting most of your calories early in the day, you're going to be able to achieve some results. We are doing a 3-day keto challenge on June 10th with Coach Alina, who's right here, Coach Becky, who's somewhere here, and Coach John, who's not here today. If you want to join or have your friends join, it's free. It's going to be fantastic. It's either ketocampchallenge.com or you could scan the QR code. Number 2 are toxins, the #2 cause. The Environmental Working Group examined the cord blood of newborns, and they found that the average baby began life exposed to 287 of the 413 chemicals in the study, and 180 of them were known to cause cancer. This study is showing that the average person eats a credit card every week, which is 5 grams of plastic, enough to make up a credit card. This study is showing, well, the study is the next slide, but this is showing you that cash register receipts have 250 to 1,000 times more BPA than what's found in canned food. And think about that. We grab the receipt, put it in our pocket. Some women put it in their bra. I see that sometimes. Some people put it in their mouth. That is BPA going into the body. And toxins are a problem. It's not about calories. Calories matter, but they're not important. It's about these obesogens. So I used to teach calories in versus calories out. And here's the thing. If somebody is just telling you, hey, you want to lose weight and restore your metabolism, just eat less and move more, here's the problem. That's like asking Warren Buffett, who's one of the richest men in the world, and I got a question for Warren, and he selects me to ask the question, and I'm so grateful. And he says, what's your question, Ben? And I say, Warren, how do I get rich like you? I want to be wealthy like you. And he goes, that's easy, Ben. Just spend less than you earn. All right, next question. Say, yeah, Warren, that makes sense, Warren, but what's the solution, right? Telling people to just eat less and move more, it makes sense, but what is the solution? It doesn't work. It's these obesogens that activate a pathway that increases fat cells, and they're called lipophilic fat cells, meaning fat-loving, and they disrupt the metabolism. They're called obesogens, and there are a set of toxins called diabetogens, which disrupt the beta cells to produce pancreas, leading to insulin resistance and diabetes. And these are a set of the most common toxins out there, but the protocol will be even better for you. So number 1, drink out of glass instead of plastic whenever possible. Number 2, use glass Tupperware instead of plastic. Number 3, say no to cash register receipts. Number 4, do an audit on your household supplies and home environment. And number 4, get a Jasper. I mean, that product is great. Mike is fantastic. I have 3 of them in my house. Get a Jasper. You could use 𝙎𝙬𝘽𝙎𝘾 for $200 off if you want. And number 3 are these seed oils. Adulterated seed oils, key term there. We know that the incorporation of these seed oils have really skyrocketed over the years. It's estimated that 80% of seed oils are in all of the products in America. And how many of you know Dr. Kate Shanahan? Raise your hand. Yeah, Dr. Kate. She's a New York Times bestselling author. She was Kobe Bryant's nutritionist with the Lakers. She has a brand new book coming out this month, actually, called Dark Calories. Add that to your list. I just did a 2-hour interview with her coming out next week, all about it. But I've always asked her this, Dr. Kate, which scenario, I'm going to give you 3 scenarios, which scenario leads to disease faster? Smoking cigarettes every day, eating processed sugar every day, or consuming seed oils every day? What did she say? Yeah, y'all are smart, of course. She said that it's easy, it is the seed oils. And here's why. The half-life of these vegetable oils are 2 years. Meaning if you remove them today, 2 years later, half of them will be in your mitochondrial membranes, cell membranes, creating inflammation. And I was going to play this video. I don't have time, but I recommend everybody go on YouTube and watch the video, how canola oil is made, if you haven't seen it. You can see how disgusting these oils are. And this study showed, check this out, I got this from Dr. Kate's book. The average 5-ounce serving of fries, the aldehyde contents, aldehyde is a known carcinogen. The aldehyde contents are not dissimilar to those arising from smoking daily 25 tobacco cigarettes. Essentially this, a large order of French fries at McDonald's contains 20 to 25 cigarettes, so pretty much every French fry, every single fry is like smoking a cigarette to your body with the carcinogens it produces. And the reason is because of the way they're processed. It's not that all seed oils are bad, I want to make that clear. Cold processed organic seed oils are really healthy for the cells, depending on the type. But most of them are adulterated and processed at high heat temperature. So here's the list. Oh, well, before I give the list, always remember this. PUFAs, which are the polyunsaturated fats, PUFAs go poof, they oxidize in your body. So always remember that as to why they're inflammatory. But here's the list of the ones you want to avoid. Canola, corn, soybean, cottonseed, safflower, refined peanut oil, sunflower oil, grapeseed oil, and fish oil is considered a unstable fat as well. The swaps are going to be saturated fats and monounsaturated fats. The ones that are animal-based are better for cooking. The ones that are more fruit-based are better for salad dressings and dips. When I go to restaurants, I use something called my seed oil allergy card, where I tell the server, I used to tell the server I was allergic, now I use the card, and it shows on the card, these are the 9 oils or the 8 oils I'm allergic to. Can you please use a healthier swap? And it works like a charm. And you could get the digital download for free if you're watching online over at seedoilcard.com or scanning that. But at my book signing today at 2 p.m., I have 100 books and I have about 55 seed oil cards. So the first 55 people that come will get a printed seed oil card. And then I have the second edition that just released today of Keto Flex. I have 100 of these for the first 100 people. So that's at 2 p.m. at the networking lounge. I'll get that to you. And that'll be some fun. Okay, and the book has been endorsed by, of course, some of the best people in the space. Glyphosate is the next one. Glyphosate, Dr. Stephanie Seneff, well, she's not a doctor. Stephanie Seneff is an MIT researcher. She makes the correlation that glyphosate, pesticides, herbicides, Roundup, correlations, not causations, but at the time of the application of glyphosate, and she tracked it to specific conditions. So dementia and glyphosate tracks pretty closely. Diabetes and glyphosate tracks pretty closely. Autism, pretty closely. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. And her research shows that glyphosate makes heavy metals go deeper in the bones and the tissues, making it harder to get to. So the protocol for this would be eat organic as much as possible, look up the clean 15 versus the dirty dozen, take high quality fulvic and humic minerals like B minerals back there with Caroline, great for yeah, awesome. We love Caroline, Alan, yeah. Awesome for removing some of the glyphosate, or move to Italy because they've banned this stuff, right? Thank you, Italy. Fed likes that. Number 5, sick care. Let's talk about that. It's a cash cow, isn't it? Here's the example. Somebody goes to the convenience store, they get convenient food, and that has a lot of frankenfood ingredients, which causes symptoms. They go see their doctor, and their doctor prescribes a prescription, tells them, here's the prescription, go back to the same store, now walk to the back and get your prescription. And they don't change their lifestyle, they keep going to the front of the store, getting more symptoms, more medication, back and forth, back and forth. Pretty brilliant, evil model. But symptoms are a gift for innate intelligence. It's your body's check engine light. And a cured patient is a lost customer. One of the most important things, Buzz is going to like this, that I learned is from Neville Goddard. We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. The subconscious mind runs the show, and our environment is very important. I'm going to give you an example here. Here's me and my mother. I love my mom. Every Thursday, me and my fiance Natasha, we drive to her house, her apartment, and we have dinner with her. But there is a problem with the dinner. She has the television on the whole time. And she watches Hallmark, Alina's favorite channel. And I would see the commercials on there, and it's like, Big Pharma, take this if you can't get an erection, but then if you take it and have an erection for more than 4 hours, go see your doctor. And then this for bipolar, but then it's going to lead to actually more suicidal thoughts. And you're like thinking, one, they have somebody smiling that looks pretty, and then it confuses you. And then, fast food, et cetera. So I asked the question, what percentage of commercials are funded by Big Pharma? I have a second edition Keto Flex book for somebody who's going to... Is that Julie? 75%. Julie, come get the book. Give Julie a big round of applause. Keto camper. 75% of all the commercials. The next question I asked was, okay, out of the 195 countries, how many of them allow this? New Zealand and the United States. Tammy, was that you? Who said 2? You said 2. Yeah, you get it. Yeah, big round of applause here too. Here you go. It's hard to see with the lights, I'm sorry. The next question I asked, okay, out of the remaining, so we already know, 75% Big Pharma, so 25% less. Out of that remaining, how much is it from fast food? Who said 15? All right, the first person who said 15, come up here. I don't know who it was. Honor system. It's about, give a round of applause. It's about 11 to 29%, but I'm going to average by 15. So here's the book for you. But isn't that incredible? Here you go. Enjoy it. We are being bombarded. We are being brainwashed. And this is how it works. Your environment, let me go the opposite direction. Your environment controls the thoughts that you think and your belief system. The thoughts that you think and your belief system determine the actions you take or don't take, determine the results you get in life, and essentially your destiny. So it starts with your environment. And if we're watching these commercials, if our children are watching these commercials and they're brainwashing us, it's going right into our subconscious mind, developing a belief system that the body is not built to heal itself. We need this medication or surgery. And that's, in lack of a better word, bullshit. We know this. I actually don't have enough time to go over that, or George Costanza, but I want to talk about this. Here's the protocol. Turn off the television. Do the opposite of what mainstream tells you to do. Do an audit on your friends and family and choose wisely. And then create more content than you consume. You're learning a lot this weekend, and share that with your friends either on social media or not. All right, bonus cause. Maybe I won't get through my slides. Jeez, pressure. You think I could do it, guys? Too much biohacking. Wow, I'm at a biohacking conference. Here's the story. If your stress bucket is overflowing, I made the analogy yesterday about a cup that's full, and you add more stressors, which is all these biohacks, you violate a principle called hormesis. When you stay in that green zone right there, you get all the benefits of biohacking and stressors. But if you do too little or too much, you lose those benefits. So here's, a list of a few of them: red light therapy, cold plunge, sauna, fasting, PEMF. I love them all, don't get me wrong, but here's a story, quick story, of me running out or violating hormesis. A few years ago, I was in Seattle, Washington, and we went to this mountain called Snow Lake Mountain, where me and my best friend, Ronald and Carla, we hiked for 2 hours, and we went to this beautiful lake, Snow Lake Mountain, and even though it was the summer, the ice was still melting into the water, so it was freezing water. This is in 2017, I believe. And at this time, I was dealing with, I have Raynaud's. Anybody know what Raynaud's is? It's Raynaud's syndrome. And when you are exposed to colds, it could make your hands go white, you lose blood flow. And I knew I had it, but I didn't understand it back then too much. So I cold plunged, and here's the photo of what happened after. I almost lost my hands. My hands, if you could take it off the screen here for a second, my hands went completely white and purple all the way to right here. And I couldn't even close my fist. And if you go back to the photo now, that's me putting my their socks on my hands to warm up. They didn't realize how bad it was. They're taking a photo like, here we are. Now they're like, oh my God, I felt so bad. But I found hikers with a lighter to light my fingers, and I violated hormesis. I didn't adapt to the stress. It was too much. Now, after building up my hormetic ceiling, I did a 49 degrees cold plunge for 4 minutes last week with no flare-up. When you adapt to the stress, you build a higher hormetic ceiling. So just because, and I love Ben Greenfield, just because Ben Greenfield could do, I don't know, a 20-hour cold plunge, doesn't mean you can do it. Just because your friend does a 4-minute plunge doesn't mean you should do it. You want to ease your way into the stress and adapt to it. Again, I don't have time to go over it, but one of the things I do is I track my heart rate variability with the Oura Ring and my sleep. And if I do a stressor biohack and I feel better the rest of the day, I know I stayed in that zone. If I feel worse and my HRV drops, I know I did too much. Next one, stinking thinking. Zig Ziglar called it. Inflammatory thoughts. The average person has 60,000 thoughts per day, and 90% of them are the same ones from yesterday, and 85% of them are negative. George Bernard Shaw said 2% of the population think, 3% of the population think they think, and 95% of the population would rather die than think. But thinking or mental activity is not the same thing as thinking. We're running on autopilot. So how many of you talk to yourself every day? Raise your hand. All right. 30% of you did not raise your hand, and you're thinking, do I talk to myself? I don't know. Maybe I talk to myself. Yeah, I'm talking to myself. But are we thinking? We're going to say, some of you have done this before. I get it. Some of you have not. But on the count of 3, we're going to say this word 5 times in a row. I'm going to ask you a quick question, and you're going to answer the question out loud. All right? So on the count of 3, let's say silk. 1, 2, 3. Silk, 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 silk. What do cows drink? Who said milk? Raise your hand. They drink water. They produce milk. Silly example to show you, we're just kind of going through the motions, and your thoughts, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, communicate with your cells to turn on genes, turn off genes. So if you have 60,000 thoughts per day, and your thoughts influence health or disease, you have 60,000 opportunities every day to put your body in an anti-inflammatory state. Greatest biohack in the world. You are the most influential person you speak to today, and I made it to the last part here. I did it. I got a couple minutes here. I told you I could do it. How many of you take vitamin G every day? Don't give it away, but if you know what it is, okay. Vitamin G is the best supplement in the world. Dr. Joe Dispenza did brain scans, vitamin G workshops. He saw cortisol drop, and IgA, the immune system, protect itself in the participants who took it. Vitamin G turns on 1,200 chemical reactions that take place to repair the body and heal the body. It lowers blood pressure. It lowers A1C, we talked about that. So let me see Keto Chat now. I don't see any vendors with vitamin G. I don't have an affiliate link for vitamin. What is vitamin G?
Gratitude.
Gratitude. And I know it's funny and silly, but hey, those are real studies on what vitamin G does to heal your body. It is a universal law. What you feed energy to expands. In other words, what you appreciate appreciates, and what you think about and think about, you bring about in your life. That is a fact. If you don't believe me, believe her.
How do you think you've lived to be 97? Like, how do you think you made it this many years?
I don't know. I don't know. Because I'm naughty. I eat sugar. I eat butter. I eat things that I should not eat. And I have all my life.
Well, what do you think is the secret? You know, people ask me and I tell them that you pray a lot, you have faith.
I do have faith, yes. I really spend, I cannot end my day without being grateful. I never take anything for granted.
So that's probably the secret. That's how you live to be 97.
I don't know.
Because you never end your day without being grateful.
I don't know. I really don't.
You have a lot of gratitude in your heart.
Yes.
Isn't she amazing? Vitamin G, longevity. So at 2 p.m., I have 100 of the Keto Flex second edition and about 55 of the seed oil cards. Hope to see you there. I want to do one last thing. I know the time's up, but this is going to take a few seconds. Grab your right hand. Everybody, whether you're standing back there or here, grab your right hand. Put it over your right ear. Keep it there, please, as I say this, okay? Your body was built to be self-healing. God designed your body to be self-healing. You have an inner physician within every cell. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise. You are a masterpiece because you are a piece of the master, and you can remove the hand.
The best part about this protocol, you don't have to suffer, you don't have to count calories, you don't have to rely on any restrictive dieting. It will be easy. After I personally went from being physically obese at 250 pounds to losing over 80 pounds in 9 months and going from 34% body fat to 6% body fat,